Greetings and welcome to Retention Chronicles, the podcast with learnings from expert e-commerce brands and partners. I'm your host, Mariah Parsons. If you're here, you're either on a quest for e-commerce enlightenment or you accidentally clicked the wrong link. Either way, I am thrilled you stumbled into our corner of the internet, and I hope you'll stick around. We've got pearls of wisdom for everyone, whether you're running a multi-million-dollar business or simply just starting out on your entrepreneurial journey. Before we unleash the brilliance of today's guest, let's give a shout out to our podcast sponsor, Malomo. Malomo is so much more than just another Shopify app. They're post-purchase wizards, making beautiful and branded order tracking smoother than a jazz solo, so our amazing founders, like our guests, can keep their customers happy and up to date while they track their orders. So hit that subscribe button, like it'll increase your LTV overnight, and go listen to our other episodes at gomalomo.com. That's GOMALOMO.com. Get ready for insights, chuckles, and perhaps a profound realization or two with this newest episode of Retention Chronicles. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Retention Chronicles. I'm psyched for this episode today. It is the first time that we've had both a brand and a tech partner on in one call. So, guys, we're already setting history. Thank you so much for being here with me, Nino and Leanna. I'm so excited to get to chat with you and really dive into it today. But let's say hello to our listeners first and give a quick background on yourself. So, Leanna, we're going to start with you, and then Nino will go to you after.
Yeah, really excited for this. Thank you for having us. So my name is Leanna. I'm the Senior Director of Customer Experience at Victoria Beckham Beauty. My previous roles in life have always been customer service focused. I started as, fun fact, started as a part-time agent 10 years ago.
Love it.
And sort of like worked my way up into this new role. So been in beauty customer service for quite a while, and my first role was at Birchbox. And then I pivoted a little bit to do some things on the brand side, and I worked at Zendesk for quite a bit. But yeah, really back here in the beauty world where I love. So thanks for having
Okay.
us.
I love that. Yeah, we'll dive into all of that. But Nino, let's get your
And so,
brief background summary before we do that.
Yeah, sure. And of course, thanks for having me as well. So I've spent almost 20 years building and scaling customer support teams for all sorts of different industries, primarily fast-growing startups. So kind of as early as maybe seed or Series A, and then just kind of growing from there. But definitely, I would say kind of as a call out, at the places that I've worked that really influenced my career. So one of my first jobs, Nordstrom, selling ladies' shoes of all things. But that really colored in terms of like my perspective on, just that Nordstrom experience, on what you could achieve in terms of what you deliver for customers. And then I was actually one of the first 5 people in support at Zappos. So I was there in the very early days, just kind of watching what they were doing. So 2 tremendous experiences that really kind of colored my career in terms of like just the value of delivering amazing customer experiences.
Yeah, I love it. So much to dive into. And that's why I'm so excited. And it's going to be a fun challenge for me to be able to kind of think through, like, obviously, what are the differences? What are the parallels of coming from both your guys' backgrounds and then peppering in my own experience as well. So it's gonna be a fun 40 or so minutes. But Leanna, let's start with you. When you were talking about obviously your history in customer experience and customer support and customer service, talking about just how much you're learning on the fly of like there's never going to be just one answer fits all for like customers, and it's always going to be like or at least the goal is to have something that is a unique or a personalized feeling when the customer leaves and that they feel valued. So tell us a little bit about when you first started as a part-time agent in CS. What were like some of the first learnings where you were like, oh my God, like I think anyone listening to this episode knows that CS is so difficult. And so
it
with
really
both of
is.
you having your backgrounds in CS, I would love to hear just like what was that like moment of like, oh my God, like, whoa, I really hold a lot of responsibility to make sure that the customer has a great interaction with this brand.
That's a really great question. And it's like such a good point too, because I feel like customer experience and support and service has this like really negative sort of connotation or like history of this, someone sitting one of 100 people in a call center, and no one really cares about your issue. And, you know, not that I was one of 100, but I was one of like a very large team at part-time who's just listening and receiving like negative stuff every day. And it's really hard to not let that get to you, when you're on the inbound of just like problem solving, but all you're getting are the problems. Like no one writes to customer service to say, have a wonderful day, But what really helped me was like, there was some point in my career at Birchbox where I was like, if I change my mindset a little bit and figure out ways to make people special and kind of, you know, um, expand that out and put like some numbers behind it and put some hypotheses around it, like that is a game changing like career move. And like literally, that's kind of what happened to me where I decided, I want to understand for every customer who comes in like angry, what happens afterwards once they talk to us, like how does their behavior change? Do they cancel their orders or subscriptions? Birchbox was very subscription based, are they repeat purchasers? Are they referring friends? Like it's all of these like little things that I was like, I have the power to influence that by sitting at home on the phone, and all of those kind of shifts in my mindset really helped me to now where I am today in my career, where like I fully believe that customer experience is like the solar system of your universe for your brand. And if they are not at the center of your brand, like your brand can't succeed. So yeah, it's really important to kind of try and shift that a little bit as much as you can.
Yeah, really putting in just like the grunt work or the legwork of like, I'm going to really, really give it my all and see, sometimes there's just nothing you can do, but like the effort most people will respond to. And I think that that comparison or that parallel of like it needs to be your center, CX needs to be your center, needs to be your solar system. I love that. And that's something that I've seen as well on the Malomo side of things of like, if you really go that extra mile, sure, you might not be able to remedy specifically for us like a bad shipment experience, but you can make the
Right.
next one better, or you can make it a little bit better, even if you can't, make the truck get to the person's house faster. So I love that. Nino, let's hear from you. What was kind of one of those moments where you're like, wow, customer success, there's such a, I guess, a like weight or a responsibility that you get the privilege of carrying, but there's it's no joke when you're looking at of all the things that go into running a business.
Yeah, so I think two parts there. So I like Leanna, I started as an agent. And I would say that I think support is one of the most kind of misunderstood departments within a company. And just in terms of like what people think they know about support and what actually is happening and what's possible is just such a wide gap. And so, when I started as an agent, no offense to the 1% out there that was like, I aspire to start myself as a customer service agent in my career. It wasn't something that I picked, but it was an opportunity that I got. And I thought, this is pretty interesting, that I can kind of work my way up in the company. And I think, one thing that stood out to me first in my career as an agent is the level of difficulty. Again, this is kind of that misunderstanding of support internally, of how complicated it is what's being asked of us. So, we have these super high paid sales folks as an example, and they're being tasked with, creating relationships and closing deals, but they have a lot of room to work with in terms of building that relationship. We're being told in 5 to 10 minutes, you need to take somebody who's upset, a perfect stranger, build a rapport, turn things around, navigate at the same time. Oh, and by the way, you're the lowest paid person in the company. And so I think a lot of folks don't like
Real zinger.
appreciate that is insane. That's an insane task that we're asking of support. And so, I think it takes a lot out of your front line sometimes on their own to kind of go, how do I bring my own sort of happiness out of this? And so for me, it was really like a game. I really wanted to take this person who I did not know that was, unhappy for whatever reason and figure out how I could change that around. And those wins here and there kind of kept me going and kept me excited and sort of kind of fed that next one. And then I quickly started, so I excelled, especially with that mentality, I excelled really well as an agent and went into leadership pretty quick. And then you get into leadership and you're like, oh wow, this is great. Like I'm moving up in my career. And then you hear all these things about you're just the complaints department, you're just the cost center. And I'm like, okay, I'm advancing, and now this is what I advance to. And so really early on in my career, I would say this is, the first year or two in leadership, I realized that there were departments like marketing and product and others that were thirsting for voice of customer content. And at a really young age, I kind of put two and two together that I'm sitting on all this information that you're not really valuing. And so I started kind of changing the narrative really early in my career about what support could mean for a business and how it could impact it. And that just changed the trajectory of my career, like, tenfold. So then I became, really close to reporting directly to the CEO and being able to be part of that sort of executive vision on how do we harness all these customer insights and empower key stakeholders in the company to be able to improve our customers' experience, and really reduce the need for folks having to be reactive and come into support. So I think those two areas kind of really stand out at me, sort of just that understanding of how difficult it is to be an agent, but also how powerful that role is. And then also this information that we sit on that's just like gold within a company.
Yeah. I mean, we're sitting here today because Malomo, our director of CS, connected us, right? So, like, echoing exactly what we were talking about of just this wealth of knowledge because you are sitting in between the customer and the business. And I know, like, I will forever always take and I give credit to our leadership team as well for enabling our CS team to be like, no, say that this is like what you're hearing from the customers and this is what, our product dev should be, or, what you're hearing in the industry, because you are some of the most relatable or most connected to said customers. You're working on the daily with, figuring out issues or figuring out what's annoying them, what do they love, what don't they really need. But you're completely right in how the majority of any vertical looks at customer support as like, oh, something that's necessary, but maybe isn't like a growth channel or like anything like that, that it's like, oh, you can really scale with your with a great customer support team. And so I love that we're talking about this, and it relates so closely to retention. Obviously, is like if you can get someone who has a horrible experience and then turn that into a better experience, and one that they're actually more likely to come back and buy because they see how you will treat a bad experience. They have that security of, okay, well, if something bad happens again, I'm probably going to get the same process. So I'm more likely to continue to shop with said brand. But we're going to get into all those fun retention strategies a little bit later. Walk us up till we walk through the background. So now let's talk about what the seats you're both sitting in currently. And Nino, I think it would be a great transition to learn about what then brought you to start SwiftCX, and then we'll hop over to you, Leanna.
Sounds good. So probably just the root of it was just frustration over the course of my career. Watching, I've always been sort of a support geek at heart. I always, played with whatever tools were out there, tried to make sure I was up on the latest stuff. And what I found as a trend throughout my career was a few things. One is it's crazy how much effort support teams have to put into their tools to get back value. And that's like nuts to me because we don't have that time. There's so many things we need to be doing. We don't have the capacity to also invest a ton of time in our tools, which really should be giving us value out of the gate. So that was one thing I noticed. And then two, which I feel like connected to that, was every single founder I ever saw that built tools that we used had never actually been in support. And I thought, well,
Mm.
maybe there's something to this. And so I wanted to try my hand at that, put one of our own in the community in that founder seat, set the vision. And our vision at SwiftCX was to make it easy to deliver amazing customer experiences leveraging AI. And so the key there being like easy and amazing customer experiences, like that typically just does not go hand in hand. So like if you're doing, high quality service, it's usually high effort and high cost. If you're doing low quality service, which is probably what most of us are used to, it's low effort and low cost.
Yeah.
Low effort except for the agent. The agent's always high effort. But in terms of the operation itself, like if low quality service, you can do that standing on your head. It's easy. Just slap an email address, hide your phone number, call it, don't answer for 7 days. There's a whole lot of flavors of low quality service. It's totally easy, right? So I wanted to find a way to leverage tech, especially this new era of AI, in a very thoughtful and kind of innovative way to figure out how do we get the best of both worlds? How can we help these support operations that need value from their tools and need it to work without them having to put so much work into them, and to be able to assist them in delivering highly efficient, high quality service. So that's what we do with our AI platform.
Okay, love it, love it, love it. So Leanna, now give us kind of the rundown of what you're excited about with Victoria Beckham Beauty and what you're kind of bringing to the table, how you're looking to, where you're really excited about what you all are doing.
Yeah, I could talk about this for years.
Good.
But
We'll keep rolling.
I was I think I was employee number 12 here, and I haven't even hit my 2 year period here. So we are relatively small, which I think will surprise people here from like a celebrity brand. It's pretty small. And when I came here, I, worked with the CEO and I was like, we should put customer experience under marketing because I have this like vision of, a reactive and proactive support team. And let's like do the shifts because everything is mostly 100% reactive. But can we shift into 50? And what does that look like? And then in these moments where we think about these big picture, huge campaigns that require a lot of creative effort and marketing and resources and campaigns and ads, and we're just not sure, but like, let's try it and see what works from a sales perspective. I can then step in and be like, wait, let's try this. I have the customer sitting in the inbox. Like I have people ready to go. So let's try it here and we can report on it and we can get like the really nitty-gritty granular details and see at a larger scale with time, effort, all those resources. Is it worth it? And that sort of vision has kind of been the grounding foundation of like what we're doing on our team, trying to find all of these like endpoints where customers are talking and they're maybe not talking directly to CX, but they're talking about the brand in a way that who's going to answer that but CX, So these are your product reviews, your Trustpilot, Facebook, community management. Like let's filter all of that in because that's all information that I guarantee you is already in like your CRM, inboxes with CX. And to what Nino was saying earlier, like the customer experience team has to do so many different jobs. My team, they are like logistics specialists, they're like fraud fighting, they're product specialists. They know every single ingredient in our eyeliner. They're upselling, they're cross-selling, like they know everything. And to me, my like core dream just as a human in this space is to elevate these people outside of the reactive customer support. And so they have so much talent that like I've clearly built my career off of, but like they can also do the same. But in order to do that, you have to like free up their time, and you have to find the ways to like give customers what they're looking for without putting a human person behind that. And I think that's something that can be like really daunting for brands, for people. I think AI in this age is kind of a scary term sometimes, but I mean, we've been using AI for decades. Like your Gmail filters are AI,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
those things like people don't realize, you're when you're texting and like it auto populates the words for you. That is AI. Like it's already here and it's been here and we're utilizing it. And to me, there's nothing more luxurious than convenience. As a customer support person, I don't want to bother other customer support people. So how can I give our customer what they're looking for without them having to wait? And that's where these tools come in. And that's where it's like, how can we surface information and education and things to them in a way that's instantaneous and still has like that instant gratification reaction. It doesn't have to be human per se. I'm very transparent when they're talking to a bot versus a real person, but I want them to be able to have that at their fingertips because that then makes them happier as a consumer, and it frees up my team to do these things that they are like subject matter experts in or can even like expand further than the things that I think about. And so that's my dream, truthfully.
I love it. I love the dream. That's what we're here for, right? No, that you teed us up nicely to talk more about obviously what you and both of your teams are doing to make sure that Leanna, you and your team can be like the luxury of convenience, but then also having something that works really well and it satisfies both your customers and your internal teams. So I would love to just double tap real quick, because you're talking about, right, it's like a coupled system of having AI, but then also having experts, human experts. And so do you have any like high level way or high level thought process as to how you're like, okay, my team experts need to be handling this issue or need to be thinking about XYZ strategy of like, how do we better, customer education on social media, or we're seeing a lot of chatter in these Facebook groups, right? Like anything like that versus when, AI should be handling said customer response.
Yeah, it really depends on the brand. I have read and I've even practiced, a lot of support teams will go straight to what's our top 5 issue types and let's create, some sort of AI that answers those. But for me, it's more like, what are the questions that don't require human thought and like opinion or yes or no questions, or like, do you ship to Canada? You don't need a human for that,
Yeah.
and it's those things that might not be the top 5 issue type, but it's something that is important to the conversion of the sale. And it's not information that someone needs to wait on. It's like an immediate, if they can't find it on our website and they want to ask somebody, that shouldn't be something that you're on hold for, or you have like hours reply time or days even. That's just silly, and that's where I kind of look at, let's retain, talent where opinion and like finesse is necessary. So if you have upset customers and maybe you have like a widespread issue about something that is upsetting a lot of people and you're thinking, okay, maybe we should like AI this a little bit. Maybe you shouldn't, because that might need a little bit like the, human touch where we have 20 different resolution options at our fingertips when we're training the AI model to just do A, B, or C, as that's all they have access to from the technical perspective, So that's sort of how I think about it a little bit. It's where the agent can shine from the things that they already know versus what does the customer need to know, but like they don't really need a human to say it to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great distinction. And I think a lot of our listeners who are on the CS or CX side of things I think it'll help them reframe, because you're right in when you said that I think AI is a scarier, just like something that everyone's talking about. It's easy to fall into that trap of like, this is a new thing, but there's so many systems that already run on AI. And you called out a couple of great ones. And so I think it'll help people kind of reframe maybe how they're thinking about it. And I was just at Shop Talk Fall here in Chicago, and the co-founder and CEO of ThreadUp was talking about AI and how they use it on their resale site. And he was saying that it's like something as small as the image search or their AI stylist who you can go in and say like, okay, this is the outfit that I want, help me design it. Something that is so helpful, but also so, I guess, just like more fun or a lighter lift when the consumer's looking at it, not on the back end. Because I know it took a lot for their team to roll that out, but something like that. And he was like, I don't think AI is hyped up enough. Like we've been using it for years and it'll be something eventually that it just, it becomes normal. And it's like the internet when it first got rolled out, or mobile phone, right? It's like all these crucial areas of our history of just technology. And he was like, it's easy to get caught up in the, oh, this is going to change everything, or like rework whatever. But then it just leaves human capacity open to do the things that you're an expert in, or the things that you know better. So I love that you called that out. And Nino, I would love to get your opinion on, now that you and Leanna have been able to work together on seeing what Swift CX is able to do with Victoria Beckham Beauty. What is the experience been from your side of things? Like, what have you all been, what's something that has been like, okay, this is a really, really great, I guess, partnership or way that we've been able to really help Leanna's team with your technology?
Yeah, so great question. I think Leanna's response is a perfect example of if if I could pick a customer to work with that has a similar mentality, that's like my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I could for sure get customers who come in and say, you know, 80-20 rule. Basically, 20% of my contact types, it's represent 80% of the volume. Let's just deflect all of that and, cost reduction, right? We can do that, and we'll do that in a really high quality way. But it's my favorite. And when I was even consulting, like the way Leanna explained it is that's how I would consult with folks who are thinking about AI, is try to be thoughtful about this. It's not a flip of a switch, right? And so Leanna's approach of like, trying to lean into these moments where, why am I making you wait for a human? Like it's almost like clean automation, right? It's just like this is perfect use case, right? That's someone I think who's being very thoughtful about how they want to embed AI in the customer's experience, and customers feel that, especially the counter example, right? They feel all of them. I would say the majority of cases where you put this guard dog bot at the front door that's like, and the customer's like, agent, let me in. I want to kill you guys, right? That's not Victoria Beckham's or Leanna's, implementation, right? And so that makes me feel really great because that's what I believe we should be doing for customers. And I think one of the things that I was really happy about in the early days when, and I've actually known Leanna for years, even before Victoria Beckham Beauty. And so it was just really great timing where I was like, hey, I know I'm early in this space. Try our bot. Trust me. Like I'm dialing this thing in. And there were cases where the customers were thanking our bot. And I thought, that's it. Like that to me is like, that's the warm and fuzzies for me. If a customer is going out of their way to thank an AI without, necessarily, needing to at all, obviously, that's great. And so, we're at the still at the beginning stages because there's so much more we can do. And I think to me, being able to work with, like I said, customers who have a similar sort of vision on what the future of AI and support should look like. That's how we want to engineer and evolve our product around those kind of approaches and use cases, because I think every company is going to benefit from that.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up like guard dog is such a good way to articulate, I think, what most consumers or most people would be, I guess, normalized to or just expect when they hear AI, an AI bot is just like you can't get to where you need to go. And you're like sitting there and you're like, I'm so frustrated. Like the pre-prompt or whatever, it just doesn't have what I need. And then when I go and click other, it can't get to someone who can like solve this problem. So I'm laughing to myself because I'm like, that is exactly relatable. And I've even had, you know, this amazing support agent tell me, she was like, if you ever call back here, she was like, press this number and then just say this one phrase. And she was like, that's what will respond in our system. You'll get
insider tips.
Exactly. And I was like, I appreciate you so much, because I was like, I have called multiple times and not gotten any help.
It's like some kind of password at a speakeasy or something.
Literally,
It's like,
literally.
come on, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
knock
yes.
3 times and then say this. It's like, that's
Yes.
ridiculous. This is your
Yeah.
customer.
And I was just like sitting there, and I, you know, we finished the call and it was for like my Wi-Fi. And so I was like, I work remotely. This is really, I need it to work. Right. And like ended up the, you know, cable got disconnected outside, all this other stuff that I would never know. Right. But I was like, I hung up and I was like, somebody finally listened and just told me, you know, like the secret little in. But it stands out in all the different support conversations that I've had, just of like someone understood what it's like to be on the other end of the phone. And it really stands out. And then also the use case that you brought up of thanking the AI bot. I'm like, I know I've also done that. Like, it's just like, I know you're a robot, but I don't care. You helped me and I'm going to thank you. So I can totally see how on your side of things, you're seeing that and you're like, that's just awesome. Like we were able to crack the code of being easy, efficient, but also incredibly helpful. Which is exactly what you want. And I want to go into another use case that I know all three of us are excited for, and that is pulling in the Malomo API key to then work and have the seamless branded order tracking experience that Malomo enables work with SwiftCX to then pull in and help, you know, teams like yours, Leanna, even more. So Nino, even if it's like high level overview, give us a little bit of a rundown of like what you're excited for when this integration goes live.
Yeah, so this is going to be a little off script, and I know you weren't planning for this, and I know you even
We
said
love off
that
script.
you guys don't talk about Malomo on your podcast. I'm going to do it for you. So there's a couple of things that I want to call out because I really like and I enjoyed. So Leanna hit me to you guys. I didn't even know Malomo even existed. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. So as I started to dig in more, it like hit a lot of spots for me. So first and foremost, your question about this integration. So we're really excited about this, basically bringing what you guys are experts at and creating this really kind of custom, fluid, seamless, you know, order lookup experience, and having that just be this very simple handoff from our bot that just feels very seamless to the customer. And we have integrated with other systems before. And so my developer, I had asked him even before the podcast, I said, you know, what are your quick thoughts on your experience kind of working with Malomo? And he was like, oh, the documentation was just so easy.
Oh my gosh, our team is going to be so happy to hear that.
Yeah. So he said it was really easy, really straightforward. I definitely have not seen that in most cases. So we really appreciated that as a partner. But the other thing, this is probably more so the off script and just the kudos to you guys, is I definitely won't even tell you when I started as an agent a long time ago. But there were, if you can believe it, there were times where like Wizmo order status, like it wasn't like every site. Like you couldn't even find out where your order was. And maybe like it was crazy. You would have to just contact support. And they'd be like, here's the tracking number. It was like this huge manual thing. And I know because I did that. And I wished there was a Malomo in that era. But then I don't know if you guys have ever thought about like a link to this comparison. It's not like the shiniest, fanciest comparison, but to me, it was so impactful in sort of that Wizmo umbrella experience is the Domino's Pizza Tracker. So Domino's Pizza Tracker, to me, like, not going to say anything great about their pizza, but so ingenious about that tracker. Like here you had at that point when they released it, you had pretty much everybody by default doing order tracking in some different flavor. And then here's Domino's, like the only one that heard like this issue of where the heck's my pizza? Like I have guests who are like about to strangle me and tie me up, and sometimes those pizzas will take a long time. And the wait, but I think the cool thing about what they did there that I see signs of like what you all are trying to do is that it it was a very consistent and very informative experience. Like, and it was very much unreal. Like, it's very visually pleasing. Like, you can see it's going in the oven, the person's putting cheese on it, and whatever. And so with Malomo, I thought, how great, because I literally just yesterday, this is 100% truth. I went to a site I won't name, but it's a very offline, I'll tell you guys. But offline,
I love that. Insider.
this is a site I
Insider
won't
info.
name because I don't want to be mean, but it's a popular site that I'm like, where is my order? And I go look at my email from them. There's no link to tracking on the email itself. And I'm like, this is so weird. I mean, this is what, 2024, right? And so I go into my account, and when I log into my account, the first thing it says when I log into my account is, you don't have any orders. And so I go and I have to click order history to see my order, then click on that to actually see a link, that then click on that and I actually see where it's going. And so it's moments like that where I'm like, yes, there is a strong need for you guys and what you're doing. So kudos to you all.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it. And I know I'm going to be sharing that with my team because it is all the little things that match, that make the difference of hearing like those stories. And I know I've been a customer when I'm like, where is my order? And I definitely am more privy to it now being in this space. Obviously, I just know the potential of what, brands can do out there. And the Domino pizza tracker is such a good one. Like I've even included that in SEO posts of ours, right? Like
Oh, cool. Okay.
like just
So
because I
no
was like, this
offense.
is a
No, you didn't
good,
get offended by
yeah,
it.
no, I mean it is, I think it's such a creative way to know exactly what you're talking about. Cause even there's education in our space that it's like, okay, this is what we're talking about when we say order tracking. Right. Like it's not something like you say email or SMS and people are like, oh yeah, whatever, get it. It's more education that needs to be of like, because it isn't just it isn't normal, or it isn't every single person, every single merchant who sells something online doesn't have that tracking like you just expressed, which that's a wild ride. I think most people would have probably given up and maybe messaged someone before digging into the order history that much. But it's a great parallel, and this is one of the things that I truly believe is just uncertainty is much scarier than just having the answer. So that's why people like order tracking. That's why they like that Domino's tracker as well, because if you're looking at something and it's like, okay, something's on the way, but you have no time frame for when that is. It could be in 2 minutes, it could be in 10, it could be in 30, it could be in 2 hours. So it's like the pain of just anticipating something is way worse than just knowing, okay, it's going to be here in probably 30 minutes. Right. And then you can kind of like ease and know and tell people, okay, 30 minutes, whatever. And then, like the party example, people aren't on your back about where's this pizza. So it is something that I believe to my core of like the uncertainty of things is just too much. It's a heavier burden to bear than just having an answer to something, even if it's an answer you don't like. And we've seen that on the Malomo side of things. But I want to transition and talk more about your experience, Leanna, because obviously got Nino's experience. And we're so excited about it on the Malomo front. But what are you excited that it's going to bring to your team for when the integration goes live?
Oh, I can't wait. It's happening right before peak season, which is like a beautiful time to test, which like don't quote me on that because a lot of other people do code freezes from like October to, January. But like to me, I'm like, this is the busiest time of year. Like this is our Super Bowl, and Wizmo is the number one issue type. And I know I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, where like don't always put your number one issue types in AI. However, like this is a scenario where our team has, you know, by default, because of what we do, I like to call them like logistical experts. And we're an international brand. So, like, our team has studied tracking pages for every courier in almost every country we ship to. And we're trying to decipher these messages, these scans. What does this mean? What does, sorted at this facility mean? And, all of these other things. And we do this every day and we still don't really know,
Right.
so I can't imagine the customer who's going to that page who is probably also equally familiar with something like that because everybody shops online nowadays. But I think there is a little bit of we got spoiled by Amazon a little bit,
A
and
thousand
that very
percent.
quick, like something is going to show up as soon as I think about it. But that's just like no, what's naturally not, sustainable for other brands like ours. And to me, I'm like, well, this is such a fun experiment to, if the customer is going to our branded tracking page via Malomo and they're just like, what? I still don't get it, and then they want to like reach out to support. Here we have SwiftCX kind of like in the middle ground to almost like translate what these couriers are actually saying. So when we're talking about, this was returned for delivery or this requires a signature or whatever, like we can, using the macros and the language that we've like so expertly put together with that like customer touch, we can say this requires a signature. We need you to be home at X time or whatever. And like, you don't have to wait to hear from someone, and you're getting that information firsthand at a very sensitive time of year where like everybody wants everything now. And I think it's going to be a game changer, not only for the agent, obviously, because there's like more room to do the fun stuff, but for the customer to like recognize how easy this experience was and almost like compare it to others that maybe haven't been as easy. And I think it's that piece sometimes in this like luxury beauty market where, we have a very high price point product and it might not be accessible to everyone in the world, but like if you had a really great experience and the tracking was easy and you just got all your questions answered like so seamlessly, why would you not shop again if you could? And that's sort of like where I feel like this is going to be helpful for us. And even some of the things I'm thinking about beyond this around like the more time we free up for the CX team to do fun stuff, we can like track revenue behind it and track like how much value this team is bringing when they're referring these specific products and when they're like sending certain links or whatever. Like that is something we don't have time to really build right now because we're in problem solving mode. But if you have a really great tool that kind of like helps assist with that, it's a no-brainer for me. And I think it's like marrying these two very efficient, softwares that we have here together. Like I'm geeking out, but I'm so excited for it because I really think it's going to help in these conversations where we talk about like retention, returning customers, and like brand experiences. Like everybody always remembers that really terrible brand experience when you do like interviews and you ask people, what's your good customer experience and what's your terrible one? The good one, I always find people are like, it takes them a while, but the bad one is instantaneous. And I'm like, okay, let's shift that a little bit. And I think this partnership can really do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're totally right. Like when someone's been burned in the past, they like your brain calls that into memory so quickly. And so it's not a great thing. Like I wish that that wasn't the case. And so to be able to have more positive narratives and like really give room to people who are in the customer experience space and just be like, okay, I want to enable you to go get creative, or like I I've I've noticed the trend of customer experience or customer support starting to be more in the marketing world, or like, you said in this episode fall under marketing, and like have that communication, but it's not the norm by any means. And so, even things like that where it's like can the marketing team and the CX team sit down and be like, okay, what are our customers talking about? Right. Like, this is what I love to ask our CX team when I'm like not bothering them and they're not swamped with something or not trying to, draw away from their time. But I'm like, what are you hearing? What's the chatter? Or like, what are you seeing from your side? And how can I pull that into what I'm trying to do with making, an email really valuable for our customers, right? Like, how can you do all those little things or put revenue behind, what CS is doing? Because that's like a channel that has not been explored traditionally. It's something that's viewed as a cost center. And so I'm really excited to see kind of this movement, and I want to say justification of like just validating how much effort goes into CS, because it is not a job for the
Yeah.
for the weary. So yeah, I love that. We'll wrap up this episode with just a really quick touch on, I want to hear when both of you are like, okay, I have this problem or I have this issue that I'm trying to solve. Where do you both go to level up? So this is like, it could be podcast content, friends, family, right? Like anything. Where do you all kind of look when you're like, I have no idea how to approach this? Nino, let's start with you.
Good question. This is sort of like, is this specifically work related or like just everyday?
Anything. Open door.
Okay.
Life and work.
Yeah, life and work.
Not to be super on the nose about it because of what we're doing at our startup, but I mean, can't hate on ChatGPT. I mean, it just does some things that it's pretty magical. And for sure, obviously, we're just because I've been working with it and other models so closely, I'm hyper aware of its limitations. But when you guide it the right way, I mean, geez, I mean, it's the stuff that I get back, and then me teaching it, let's say, to my 8 and 10-year-old, and just thinking, what's their ChatGPT going to look like in 10 years? Then I just need to go take a nap because
you're like, okay, now I'm too existential. I love it. I love it. Leanna, what about you?
I have a group text called Sisterhood of the Traveling CX. And it's 10 women who are all heads of e-commerce brands. And we've all sort of kind of met over the course of our career. Some of us have worked together. We support each other. We do networking events together. It's just such a fun group text. And I go there. I'm like, girls, help me find this software, or this agent, got this like really great review and I want to like do this thing. What have you done? And it is such a lovely community because again, I think finding people in this space is really challenging, especially in a post-COVID world where like probably 90% of customer service teams are remote. My customer service team is remote. And I think about our agents who are sitting at home by themselves reading email after email after email. And I'm like, that probably can't feel good, for a long period of time. So something that we've all connected with really was like our common interest of like being human in CX and empathetic. And we all feel so strongly about not only the customer, but like the people talking to the customer, and they're on the same level. It's not the customer is always right. It's like,
say it.
how can these people, no one has to be right or wrong here. How can these people work together on something that we all want? No customer support person wants you to have a bad experience, So whatever we say in this conversation is not to make you feel bad, and I think it's hard sometimes to be on the receiving end of customer emails because they don't have that mentality, So I found this really great group of women who support each other, and we geek out about so many different software things. So many people have recommended different projects and brands and, stuff to us. And yeah, they're my girl gang.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. That makes me happy to hear. And I do find as an industry, everyone is very willing to share about struggles, challenges, wins, all of it, right? Like you get the whole gambit. Most of the time, I will say. So I love that. Okay, this has been an absolute blast to have you both on. Thank you for making the time. It is the joy of my day. So I really appreciate it. And it's great meeting you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.